Hey fellow YouTubers, today I think I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. Well, at least I hope it blows your mind. It's interesting at least at this point in the project. This is phase one. But what I've got in front of me are some cool looking weapons. As you'll notice, the first one that's lined up is my Glock 20. It's a 10 millimeter, obviously. But and I'm not going to bore you too much with talking to you about 10 millimeter ballistics versus 45. At first, years ago when I bought this gun, a lot of guys were saying, why in the world would you buy a 10 millimeter when you could just buy the 45? Well, these days, a lot of folks know that you could just switch out the barrels and have a 45 as well. But 10 millimeter ballistics beat 45. There's really no debate about that. Now, would I want to get hit with either one of them? No. I wouldn't want to get hit with a weak 45, much less a 10 millimeter. But at any rate, what I want to show you today is pretty interesting. And so, first I want to kind of show you, I really like carrying the Glock 20. To me, it's comfortable because of the long handle. It's a full-size weapon. It's a service weapon. But I like carrying it because it has a long size handle, and it for concealed carry with enough clothes on with the proper attire, it really kind of hangs in the belt if you want to carry holsterless. But I really like this weapon. It's fun to shoot. I like to rip off the slide and trade it out with a conversion slide where I can shoot 22. It's a really fun gun to shoot. But I'm just going to show you a few of these 10 millimeter ammunition boxes. Corban, 1400 Phipps, 135 grains, not too shabby. Another Corban brand is Powerball, and same weight of bullet, 135 grains, moving out at about 1400 Phipps. They're probably using about a 5-inch barrel, but who's counting? And then another 10 millimeter offering from Hornady. You will notice that it's got listed 1265 feet per second. All right, at the muzzle, 155 grains. Let's remember that. And so moving down the line, carrying a 20 around in shorts and a t-shirt, it's a little difficult. So you really want to move to a smaller offering in 10 millimeter. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, hey man, that's not a 10 millimeter. I see that's a it looks to me like a Glock 30. Well, it is. Obviously it is. But you also know that you can buy conversion barrels, and that's what's sticking out of the front of that. That's from Storm Lake, and so it's a 10 millimeter conversion barrel, and you just use Glock 29 Glock 29 magazines, and then you can use that as a 10. So it's a nice option. But what I promised you was an offering in the Baby Glock series. And as you can see probably through the viewfinder or the camera lens, there's another Glock lined up back there, and you're never going to believe this. I figured something out. And so, carrying a Glock 30 is not a bad option. I mean, just like the Glock 29, it's the same size as the Glock 29. It's pretty comfortable to carry. It's a little thick, in the waist, but that's okay. I think, with the proper attire, the proper gear, it can be done. Really nice shooting weapon, okay? But if you can get away with something smaller, wouldn't that be great? Especially in 10 millimeter, and it's a Glock. There's nothing like a Glock, guys. I don't care. Car makes a great series of weapons, but there's nothing like a Glock in my mind. I've had them for years and years, and before they were popular, well before they were popular. They're being called plastic guns. They're being called inaccurate. That whole fiasco about the Glock blow-ups, etc., etc., all the lies, all the here they are, you know, 20, 25 years later, they're still here, doing great. But I've got something to show you. You're gonna like this. A Baby Glock in 10 millimeter, and I'm not misleading you. There she is. What you got there is, as you can probably see it, the Glock 33 that has a .357 on the side. And you're probably thinking, dude, I'm not really seeing what you're seeing. Well, I switched out the barrel with this little thing. And there's a .40 barrel inside this Baby Glock, and that is 10 millimeters. And I just noticed this one night while I was researching small 10 millimeters, and I suddenly realized I could have a 10 millimeter in my Baby Glock. And how you do that is simply by switching out the barrel. You buy a standard Glock barrel. You can find them at, there's 1,000 websites on the web. I'm exaggerating a little bit. There's a few websites on the web that you can buy standard Glock barrels for about $150 and switch it out. And you just switch out the ammunition. Right now I've still got this one in 357 SIG, as you can see from the brass, but all I have to do is put 40 ammunition in there. 40 is 10 millimeters, and you're thinking, well, you know, last time I looked, 40's a weak 10, and you're right. You're correct. In standard offerings, 40 is a weak 10. But if you use buffalo bore right there, it says 40 S&W plus P. Well, according to the Sammy site, 40 S&W plus P is kind of a misnomer. It doesn't really exist. So what does exist is an uploaded 40 S&W, which is basically a weak 10 millimeter. And you can see it's moving out. They've got it advertised at 1,300 feet per second. And what I showed you before, which I'll show you again right now, is 10 millimeter and 155 grains, moving out at 1265. I mean, that's pretty. Now, I've got to test this stuff out in the field, and the next part of this video, I'm just gonna slice it up. The next part of this video is gonna be shooting the sky screens to see what I actually get out of a Glock 33 size gun. How fast that 40 is actually moving out. And I'm going to compare it side by side with the Hornady 10 millimeter ammo out of the Glock 30, because the barrel size is similar. So that's going to be interesting to see if I can actually get 1,300 feet per second out of a 155 grain 10 millimeter sized gun. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see how this does. Buffalo bore, 40 caliber, plus P, 1,300 feet per second. It's going to be less than that out of this short barrel, but it should be, I think, probably about 1,100. We'll see in a second. Ready? Buffalo bore, 40 plus P, advertised at 1,300 feet per second. Here we go. $11.98 looks valid. $11.04 looks valid. And then there's another one on there. I probably missed the the speed eye. Out of the Glock 30, this is 10 millimeter Hornady 155 grain, advertised at 1264 feet per second. Should be less than that, but I want to compare it directly to my Glock 33 with 40 plus P. Here we go. Still hot. 1246. 1276. It felt pretty hot too. I mean, it feels like it's jumping. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I'm still hot here. Okay, I got one in the chamber. Yep. So Hornady coming out of this a little bit longer barrel. It's obviously pretty hot, but what's interesting is that 40 plus P is close to it. 1198 and 1104 and 1246. 1246 and
1276.
And 1276. So it's pretty close. We got the Glock 33 out again. This time I stuck a longer barrel on it. I want to see what difference a longer barrel makes. Obviously it's making a little bit of a difference, but I think it's going to pump this 40 up to 10 millimeter ballistics. Alright, so here we go. We're going hot. Empty. Alright. 1320. One bad one. 1321. And 1197. Alright, I'm empty. Cut. 135 grain out of the Glock 30, converted to 10 millimeter. Advertised at, I think it's 1400 feet per second. Here we go. We're hot. Or 155 grain, advertised at 1500 feet per second. I know it's going to come in at a little bit less than that, but this should be pretty hot in this Glock 30 converted to 10 mm. Here we go. Empty. 1334. Alright, YouTubers, I'm back from shooting. I had a great time, me and my sons out in the desert. And, you know, I'm really impressed by this Baby Glock. And I got the little watch there just for a size comparison. This gun is impressive in 40 S&W plus P, if there is such a thing as plus P 40. But it is truly impressive. You know, out of a regular size barrel, which is that 40 barrel I've got in the Glock 33, I've got 1151 feet per second, as you saw in the video earlier. That's definitely holding its own against 10 millimeter. Hornady, which is moving out of that Glock 30 right there at 1317, 1261 feet per second. It is definitely holding its own. For some of the guys out there that say, hey, that thing's overloaded, that 40's overloaded, you're probably beating up your brass pretty well. I put some spent casings there, and I can show you. You know, these primers are doing just fine. I don't see any indications of stress in those empty brass cases. This is just some really quality ammunition. I'm not sure how Buffalo Bore is doing it, but they're doing it for sure. That's a 357 SIG barrel there, right there. 3 inches, 6 inches. Now, what would you need a 6-inch 40 S&W barrel for? Well, I'll tell you what you need it for. Instead of carrying that big old Glock 20, which is a great weapon, love it. It's a handful, a fistful of power, no doubt. Instead of carrying that big boy in the Bear Woods or the Cougar Woods, you can carry this little joker right here with a 6-inch barrel, and you are hitting 1,321 feet per second. That's no joke. That's 10 millimeter power in the palm of your hand. Wicked, 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 wicked. I mean, the recoil is pretty stiff if you use proper technique, which I think I was using proper technique. I flinched a little a few times in that video, but you get your hands on there properly and hold the weapon, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere at all. This was a lot of fun. I've got another video where I show a 357 SIG against a 357 Magnum, and it's pretty impressive, especially with this Buffalo Bore ammunition. It's a fistful of fun, but again, proper technique, you'll be fine. Had a lot of fun with my boys today. What does this mean for the 10 millimeter? Oh my gosh, I'll still carry it for sure. I'll still carry that Glock 30 stuffed full of these things right here. No doubt about it. You know, it carries more than my Glock 33, and it's fun to shoot too. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Till next time.